So we are to the point in our service where we're actually going to have what we don't call a sermon. We're having our Sunday lesson, which is also called the Sunday Talk. And today it's entitled The Crack in the Cosmic Egg. And we are discussing the spiritual implications of terminating a pregnancy. You need to know that ministers all over the country have been struggling with how they were going to talk to their congregations about the recent ruling of the Supreme Court. I belong to several ministerial groups, and it's just gone on and on and on, causing great distress. So as we discuss this, we are going to talk about why it causes such a turmoil when our right to do so, to terminate a pregnancy, is threatened. We will look at this multi-level issue from three different perspectives. The first is Unity's response to the Supreme Court ruling. The second is traditional religious views, Christian and other, on abortion. And the third is the deeper metaphysical significance of this turmoil and this time in history. And so we begin by sharing from the recent statement, which was released by Unity's parent organization, which is the Unity Worldwide Ministries. I'm going to read one paragraph aloud. You can go to their website if you want to read the entire statement, but this one paragraph captures the essence of it. Unity Worldwide Ministry believes that all human life is sacred and worthy of respect. Because of our deeply held spiritual beliefs regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion, we stand for the rights of women to make their own decisions concerning their bodies and their medical treatment. We believe that reproductive rights are human rights, which do not require government intervention, and we will advocate for those rights based on the foundational principles of our faith. It's very well written. And whereas this statement addresses women's rights, it does not broach the question of the morality of terminating a pregnancy, because Unity's other teachings, when taken as a whole, address that issue. When I provide spiritual counseling concerning abortion, I stress two things. First, that in this, as in all things, Unity counsels folks to go to God first, then to follow divine guidance in pursuing action in the outer world. Unity does not take a stand for or against abortion. Unity takes a stand on the individual's right to follow the guidance they receive in prayer. The second thing I stress regarding abortion is the eternal validity of the soul. Unity teaches that each soul is an expression of God, eternal and indestructible. We have always existed and will always exist. It is the notion that souls are created in the womb at some point between conception and birth that has led to the heated debate over terminating a pregnancy. And this notion leads us to the second part of today's talk, which is the role that religious views play in our justice system. Christianity did not always teach that souls are created in the womb. Until 553 CE, the church accepted the doctrine of pre-existence, which is the pre-existence of the soul. It was at the Second Council of Constantinople that this doctrine was outlawed and declared a heresy. And this was a big deal. If you teach something that has been declared a heresy, you can be excommunicated, you can be executed. Outlawing this doctrine also eliminated any reference to reincarnation in Christian theology. But there are still some references in Scripture. I've got 3 to share with you that indicate the pre-existence of the soul. The first is Jeremiah 1:5. This is God speaking. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. And the second one is from Psalm 139, and this is David speaking to God. Thine eyes have seen my unformed substance, and in thy book they were all written, the days that were ordained for me, when as yet there was not one of them. And the third is from Ephesians. This would be Paul's letter to the Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 4. Paul speaking. Just as he chose us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and blameless before him. I have been to seminars by people who say Scripture was rewritten after the preexistence of the soul was declared a heresy, and references to that were removed. Think about some of the basic teachings and practices of the Christian churches, especially the historical Catholic Church. They teach that human souls are created in the womb. After humans die, they spend eternity in heaven or hell based on their behavior while on earth. And this behavior is determined by the church. If a newborn dies before it is baptized by a priest, it cannot go to heaven. It goes to limbo. And if a person dies without last rites administered by a priest, and that includes the absolution for sins, they cannot go to heaven. Though there are many more details involved and much history about how these teachings evolved, we can conclude a couple of important things. The first is that these teachings gave great power and control over the population to church authorities. And secondly, that they have influenced our justice system and our everyday morals, often in ways that are invisible to us. They are invisible base assumptions in our society that we take for granted that that is the way it is because we never heard any different. It was just assumed. All of the traditional Christian denominations teach that souls are created in the womb and that the afterlife experience depends on earthly obedience. It is interesting to note that the Mormons believe in the pre-existence of the soul, however. Some of the other world religions teach about reincarnation. In some Eastern spiritual traditions, abortions is viewed in a different way. There are many people who believe that the spirits of the unborn have countless opportunities to incarnate. And so if a mother chooses not to give birth, it doesn't mean the spirit can't try again. The view that the unborn are spiritual beings that deserve our love and respect is shared. But women who have abortions are spiritual beings as well, and it is their right to choose. To have an abortion is part of the cosmic cycling of spirit from life to life. In Eastern spiritual traditions, death is viewed differently, not as final, and life is still deeply cherished. And in the Jewish faith, and I think this may be my favorite one of all, in the Jewish faith, there is no teaching of an afterlife. Their teachings about abortion are well defined and strikingly different from Christian thought. Life does not begin at conception under Jewish law. Sources in the Talmud note that the fetus is mere water. The fetus is mere water before the 40th day of gestation. And then after the 40th day, the fetus is considered a physical part of the pregnant individual's body, not yet having life of its own or independent rights. The fetus is not viewed as separate from the parent's body until birth begins and the first breath of oxygen into the lungs allows the soul to enter the body. Jewish law advises abortion if the pregnancy causes any risk to the mother's physical or mental health. So, in viewing these different ways, once again, please notice the Christian influence on the American justice system and the roots that it had. And all of this brings us to the title of today's talk, which is The Crack in the Cosmic Egg. And I do have one PowerPoint slide. I have not had good luck with PowerPoint today, but I'm going to put it up anyhow. All right. Because I wanted to mention these two books. The title of today's talk is based on the book, The Crack in the Cosmic Egg, New Constructs of Mind and Reality. It was first published in 1971 and a new version was released in 2002. It's by Joseph Chilton Pearce. I read this in the 70s and it changed my life. The basic idea of the book, described in an eggshell, is the sum total of our notions of what the world is and what we perceive its full potential to be form a shell of rational thought in which we reside. The logical universe creates a vicious circle of reasoning that robs our minds of power and prevents us from reaching our true potential. To step beyond that circle requires a centering and focus that today's society assaults on every level. So now take that idea and blend it with the metaphysical teaching of the creative power of the mind. In this series of books that Carlos Castaneda, here's one of them, wrote about the Yaqui shaman Don Juan. Don Juan often describes seeing humans as luminous eggs. He said, our consciousness exists within an energetic belief structure, with our experiences being the projection of these beliefs reflected back to us on the inside of the eggshell. So you see how much alike these two ways of thinking are. Okay. Go. We have created our world. We have created our life experiences and the reactions we have to them with the power of our minds. We have forgotten that we do this. The collective beliefs that we have formed and acquired throughout the millennia of earthly existence are part of our race consciousness, but they are not all true. They are part of our consciousness because we have been taught them, we have believed them, and we have experienced their reflection as we project them into the world. This world that we have created, this world that reflects so much violence and injustice back to us. There comes a time in the evolution of a species when that species is preparing to make a cosmic jump into a higher dimension. And we are breaching the threshold of such a time. This jump requires that we become aware of the mechanics of reality creation, aware of the causes of our global suffering, and aware of the truth that will set us free. When the suffering that results from our erroneous beliefs reaches the breaking point, we may finally be willing to awaken to a different way of seeing. I saw a quote from Dan Rather who said, "Sometimes major setbacks precede and even spur transformational victories." I think this is one of those times. And now I want to talk about the egg tooth. There is a phenomenon that happens when chicks, baby chickens, are inside eggs and are ready to hatch. They grow a tooth on the top of their beaks. And they use it first to puncture the membrane that has enclosed them during their development. And this allows them to access a little pocket of air at the end of the egg and to begin breathing. And then they use this tooth to peck through the shell, cracking it open so that they can hatch into the next level of their existence. And the tooth, when no longer needed, just falls off. Now, the idea that nature provides a tooth when needed for this purpose is amazing. The idea that this chick uses brute force to puncture his egg sac, the sac that has supported his existence, might seem terrifying. And that the chick goes on to destroy his shell, the shell which has housed and fed and protected him, that he is driven to hammer at it, breaking it open so that he can forever leave it, is equally terrifying. And that the chick does all of this in order to become part of a brand new world, to burst into the sunlight of a different time and space, is astonishing. We humans are struggling to be hatched. We have outgrown our old shells and are ready to burst forth into a new way of being. Sometimes this transformation may seem violent. Sometimes we need literally to destroy the old structures to allow in the light of a new understanding. And so much of what is happening in our world can be compared to the egg tooth. We are creating social mechanisms that force us to reconsider our old assumptions. And in the process of breaking out of our restricted definitions, it can seem terrifying. There is so much more at stake than the rights we are fighting for. It goes much deeper than racial equality or gender rights or women's rights. We are awakening to what it means to be divine humans. And we are in a period of transformation that will lead us into a new age an age in which we fulfill our destiny. So, what is your role? What is your role during this time of transition? Your role is to go to God first, and then to take action in the outer world as God guides you to recognize and follow your calling. And some folks are called to lead protests or other forms of social activism. And many folks, especially those attracted to Unity's teachings of prayer and meditation, find themselves filling the role of faith keeper. The faith keeper is a Native American tradition. The role of the faith keeper is to remain peaceful and calm while maintaining spiritual enlightenment and understanding, no matter what the tribe may endure. Under extreme conditions, if every single tribe member stumbles into fear or doubt or anxiety, worry, and pain, the faith keeper maintains peace, spirituality, and understanding. Therefore, the faith keeper is looked upon as the reminder of the I am presence of God, the presence of the great spirit of the Creator. In closing, as you go forth today to continue celebrating our holiday weekend and the birth of our country, and as you encounter signs of strife and discord in our world, know that you can fill one of the most important roles of all. You can resist the fear and anger being expressed by so many. And you can be a stand for peace, for faith and love and harmony. You can behold the new world in your heart and hold that vision steady like a lighthouse to guide all of the tribe through the seeming darkness to the safety of the new shore. You can hold fast to the truth that God is in the midst of every situation, providing an underlying divine order, guiding us and loving all of us all the time. And thus ends our lesson. God bless you.